The gaming industry is always changing, but one thing that remains constant is that publishers are always in search of the latest and greatest gimmicks. In the 90s, it was the Bart Simpson attitude. Whether it was a hedgehog or a cat, it seemed that every character being pushed on the gaming public had to have some serious attitude. The aughts brought us the proliferation of Progress, Quest, Facebook, and mobile gaming, tainted with microtransactions, social media tie-ins, and shallow gameplay. Today I'm going to list what, in my opinion, are the current top 5 worst gimmicks being pushed on us, the gaming public. Before I begin, I would like to throw in a disclaimer. Just because a game includes one or more of these gimmicks doesn't make it a bad game. Even good games are including these, which is why they're so irritating. Okay, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started. Loot boxes and aggressive microtransactions. The obvious ones, and I'm going ahead and getting them out of the way, because although they have to be included, you were probably thinking of them right off the bat, and with good reason. Combining the worst of gambling with the microtransaction business model that made Facebook games so lucrative for certain developers, the loot box is terrible but brilliant, like the rays of the sun. Sure, it brings in money, but it creates a system of haves and have-nots, even when people are expected to shell out $60 for the game up front. I don't like them. Some governments are actually starting to crack down on loot boxes, and so it remains to be seen whether these stand the test of time. Included in number 5 is aggressive microtransactions. I have the same contempt for these, and the less I say about them the better. Suffice it to say, loot boxes and aggressive microtransactions stink. Nintendo's plastic junk. I love Nintendo. Their design teams put out top products, and they have a commitment to quality that I can appreciate. So while this won't spoil me on the company, I do have a big problem with their knack for producing astounding quantities of plastic crap to sell with their games and consoles. Whether it's one of their 16,000 controller types, their amiibo characters, carrying cases, or even the infamous Donkey Kong bongo drums, Nintendo absolutely loves pushing out plastic peripherals. I'm not Captain Planet, but it does bother me to think of all this stuff going into landfills. They've been doing it for a long time as well, so I guess it's a good financial decision for them, but I'm still not a fan of it. The best part is that other major companies either haven't chosen to replicate this trend, or they haven't succeeded in replicating it. Pixel and retro games. Whenever I see modern or postmodern art, I ask myself, could this artist also have painted in the neoclassical style, or are they doing this because they're disguising a lack of training or talent? I have to say I feel the same way about the flood of cheap, quick pixel art and retro-styled games. Are these developers only doing this, and are there so many new games in this style simply because it's all that a lot of people are capable of making? Now, I'm not casting aspersions on games in this genre. Many are classics, many are brilliant, but there are way more that seem utterly devoid of inspiration, devoid of personality, and lacking in skill. In short, they're shovelware, and we're absolutely drowning in it. Can these developers please take a bit more time and spend a bit more on their art budget at least, so that we don't have to see so many of these uninspired pixel retro abominations? Learn from the best and don't rush this crap to market. Shouting faces. I don't know what prompted this trend, and it's probably being done just because it sells games, but it's truly dreadful. Game of War, Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Lords Mobile, and even Madden are using this gimmick. Do we really need Tom Brady yelling to recognize that this is a football game? It's like these games take their styling from the cover of Bum Fights, for Pete's sake. The shouting face icons don't really tell us anything about the game either, other than that there's presumably some conflict involved. All of them tend to blend into one. It's not the least bit original, And it only serves to make me even more cynical about mobile games, which is where this trend is typically found. Especially when I see them getting pumped out by big budget companies. Come up with a new design. You've got the money for it. Developers talking about how small their studio is. I get it, it's not easy to make a game, especially on a limited budget, with either no staff or an extremely small team. But in a world where we have games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Hollow Knight, FTL, Stardew Valley, Terraria, and even Minecraft, developed by either a solo developer or a small team, is it really necessary to thump your chest about this anymore? Games ultimately get sales and critical acclaim based on how good they are, and not how small your team is. So while yes, it is a challenge to be sure for the small fry developer to stand out in the world, I really don't see it as a good marketing ploy. It's just so overdone. Please talk about your game, why it's good, and not about the size of your team. So what did I miss? There have to be some other gimmicks trending right now that really grind your gears, so drop a comment below to let us know what they are. I'd like to hear it. It's amusing to read about these annoying gimmicks in a strange kind of way, so feel free to chime in. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe if you've got a second. Until next time.